What kinds of puppy behavior are you having to
regularly
correct, and how do you maintain that not being there all the time?
So there's really not a lot that we need to write. So okay, let's put it this way: the most important behavior that you need to correct, other than making sure they don't follow you back to the truck, is to prevent them from chasing ewes or like chasing sheep in general. And that's difficult to correct because you're in there such an infrequent amount of time that if it does happen when you're there, you sort of get lucky. But if it's happening the vast majority of the time, you're not there, so you can't really correct it. What you would hope is those times that you are there and you do see it and you do correct it, you correct it aggressively enough that you never want to hit the dog, but you just freak him out we have this sort of trash bag on the end of a stick, and we smack it on the ground, and it really freaks the dogs out. And so they're really perceptive. If you yell in a really strong, aggressive voice and you're smacking that trash bag on the ground, if they're trying to chase something or whatever, they get the message really quick, and they sort of like freak out and whatever. So if you can do that and sort of drill it in them often enough when you're in there, maybe if you start to notice that, you make a point of spending some more time with the sheep, just sitting out with them for an hour or two during the day and just watching the dogs and sort of seeing how they interact with the sheep and correcting any bad behavior. The problem that we're running into is just we have so many dogs that there's this pack mentality that takes over where the individual dogs are really good dogs and they don't really want to chase sheep, but what'll happen is one will sort of get excited and start to like maybe like walk towards the sheep, and then the other ones start to like walk up towards it, and then the ewe starts running, and then all the dogs start running after it. And so that's why we've had to take a bunch of the older dogs and put them in electronetting runs, where they're staying for the majority of the time, and then we'll cycle them into the sheep so they keep getting exposure, but they're in there in smaller amounts, like one older dog with a bunch of puppies in there at the same time. And that seems to be eliminating the sheep chasing situation, because we found some rams that were out running around on the blacktop because some of those dogs chased them out. So that's like the biggest pain that we've had to deal with. But it's one of those things where it's hard to correct. You're right, if you're not there all the time. So you just got to spend more time with them if you start to notice that type of a deal. And at the end of the day, if there's some dogs that just are good-natured and they're not going to really be chasing sheep very much at all, and those are the ones that make really good guard dogs. So if you've got one that starts chasing sheep, sometimes they're just have that whatever that is, that chase switch in their head so ingrained that they're just never going to make a good guard dog, and that's someone that you just have to get rid of, because chasing sheep leads to catching sheep, leads to chewing on sheep, leads to a predator in the flock, which is really not what you want. You want a protector, not a predator. So yeah, it's a tricky little situation though, but yeah, I think that's about it in a nutshell.
Do any of you have experience with other guardian animals? I'm thinking of llamas.
Llamas or donkeys? Have you heard about any stories with guard llamas or guard donkeys?
No, I mean, I've heard about it. I actually, there's a farm right next to like where I'm from, and they have emus in there
emus.
with their goats.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. Emus can be mean.
Yeah.
Man, they're such cool birds. That'd be wild. Yeah.
I don't know how they do, but
yeah.
I know they're in there, and they've been in there a long time, like at least 10 years.
Yeah, that's wild. The Greg will always say that, like, when he started out with sheep, he was looking into getting, because the advantage of having an emu, I don't really know what the emu is, to be honest, but having a donkey or a llama is that they're grazers, so you don't need to be supplementing them extra feed. Like, they're just out there with the sheep, eating what the sheep are eating. I don't know if an emu is a grazer, if it eats grain. I have no idea.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad about it. Like, what does it even eat? Yeah. I don't even know.
I bet it grazes.
Bugs, probably.
Bugs, and it's like a giant chicken.
Like, yeah, it's a really big chicken.
Yeah. all of our Australian friends out there, let us know what guard, if you guys got guard emus running around. That's hysterical. But man, I'm curious now. But anyway, Greg like was thinking when he started sheep, I'm gonna get a guard donkey or a guard llama because it's just gonna save me on dog feed, because dog feed's the most expensive input for the sheep by far.
Yeah.
And it's not for the sheep; it's for the protection of the sheep. But then he asked to a lot of people who have been raising sheep for a long time, and he was just getting repeatedly stories of people having a guard donkey or something out there, and a pack of neighborhood dogs coming in, like 6 or 7, just sort of like semi-feral dogs. And it was just too much for the donkey to handle. And at the end of the day, that donkey's it's a prey animal, not a predator. And so when push comes to shove, the instinct usually is to run as opposed to protect. And I get that, like, donkeys can be super protective in, of whatever, and they can be really nasty and they'll bite back and that kind of a deal. But when faced with like an oh shit situation, like those donkeys, I mean, in multiple cases, just like ran for a barn or just ran out of the paddock, and then the dogs just wreaked havoc on the sheep and killed a bunch of them. And so like with the guard dogs, the advantage is they're a predator, like deep back in their canine psyche. They don't have that run instinct. When push comes to shove, they're gonna fight, and so at least you're not gonna have something that's gonna abandon your sheep. Even if they get outnumbered, like they're aggressive enough as far as like barking, and they put up that big front where a big pack of dogs, it's sort of like speaking their language, those predators, they get it. And so they're like, I don't want to mess with that other predator versus, oh, like there's a donkey in there, maybe I can get in there, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's just for this situation, because there's so many coyotes around here, and there's a bunch of, people drop off dogs all the time on the roads out here, which is kind of sad, but like there's some dogs that people own that are just running around, and you just don't want to take that chance. Greg has had zero predator problems since he started with the guard dogs. Zero, not a single instance where a sheep has been eaten by a coyote or anything else. So the dogs, as much as they can be expensive and difficult to acquire, and require a little bit more attention, when you get a good one, it's just peace of mind is really what it is. So I'll put it this way: if I start a sheep flock, I'm going guard dogs. I'm not going guard donkeys or llamas. I will look into the emu thing because I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, exactly.
Because they could be a predator for sure.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. But like, if I was a dog, I would be so freaked out.
What is that thing?
A gigantic 5.5 foot tall bird, like trying to hit me with a huge, like big claws. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna look into it.